Hi, I'm Jacob Linkous. I've worked with Code Ninjas since the beginning. I've also been coding for about 6 years, and I'm also an Eagle Scout. I'm going to be showing you game design using Python and Pygame. So, this will be a fun and challenging ride, so let's get started. So, today we're going to be making a game called Tic Tac Toe. This is going to be a 2-player version using Python. So, to begin, let's start in the IDLE. Once you're in the IDLE, we're going to need to make a new file. So, click File, New File. This will start our new game file. So from here, we need to do a few things. We need to be able to use Pygame. So to do that, we're going to do import Pygame. That will tell the computer, or the program, that we could use Pygame. If we didn't do that, none of our Pygame commands would work, which is the very basics of our game. Another library we need to import is the system library. So import SYS for short. So after we've done those two, it's pretty much ready to start. We need a few things though. We need to make a screen size, and we need to define what the screen is, and we need to initialize Pygame. So to do that, we're going to start with the variables for the screen size. So we're going to call it width, and let's make it equal to 600. So we have a fairly decent sized screen. We're going to make another one called height. And this one's also going to be equal to 600. Now, I just made 2 variables. If you don't know what variables are, I recommend go checking out one of our tutorial videos that will be linked in the description. So, from here, let's initialize Pygame. So to do that, we're going to do Pygame, because we're calling a function from the Pygame library. So we have to say what it is first, which is Pygame dot initialize, which in this case is just init. So, once you do that, we need to set the screen. So we're going to type screen, and this is just a variable. But this variable is going to be holding the function that we need to run the screen. Screen equals Pygame, because it's from the Pygame library, dot display, dot set underscore mode. This is going to be setting the screen up. Open parentheses. Then we're going to just define how big it is. So width, comma, height, close parentheses, close parentheses. Now with this, after we save it in the correct place, which for me, I'm going to be saving it on the desktop. So we're going to click desktop, and I made a new file called game. And here, we're just going to call it Tic Tac Toe. Then, after we've saved it, we should be able to run it. We hit F5, and we have our window pop up. Now, here's one thing we can't do. We can't close the window. So, to do that, we have to make the game loop. So, to make the game loop, we have to have a boolean, or a condition that will be true. Boolean's the easiest one to do. So we'll call this boolean game. And we're going to set equal to true. Because when game's true, we want the game to run. So we're going to do while game. And if you don't know how to use a while loop, I recommend go checking out one of our videos, or if you don't know how to use something in here, check out one of our other tutorial videos as well. So, while game, and we need our colon. Now we need a for loop to look for the event that will close the window. So we're going to do for, and we're looking for an event. And where's that event? It's going to be in Pygame, but we need to use a function to find that. So we're going to do for event in pygame.event.get. And since this is a function, we have to have open close parentheses right after. Now, we also need a colon for the for loop. Now, what event are we looking for? We're looking to see if the window is closed. So, if event.type is, we don't want to set it equal to, but we're checking to see if it's equal to pygame.quit colon, then what will we do? Well, we need to close everything. So we're going to do pygame.quit. This will close the Pygame initialize. And then we need to exit the window. So we're going to do system.exit, open close parentheses. And while we're at it, let's set the game loop to false. So game equal false. Don't forget to capitalize false. So then from here, we should be able to save it, run it. We have our window, and we could close our window. So after this, we could start working on the actual game Tic-Tac-Toe. So our version of Tic-Tac-Toe is going to be quite colorful instead of just having X and O. So to do that, let's make some variables that are colorful. We need one variable first. Let's call it black. And colors in Pygame and Python can use hex code, RGB, all that. RGB is the easiest. So we're going to do black, and the color code for black is 0 red, 0 green, and 0 blue. That will make the color black. Let's also put in white, which is 255 units of red, green, and blue. And, well, we also want red. So red, we want all the red, no green, and no blue. And let's have green too, why not? So green is, if you could guess, 0 red, all the green, and no blue. And just so it kind of rounds it out, let's also get blue. So blue is 0 red, 0 green, and all the blue. Now that we have all of our colors, we can start making the conditions and boxes. So the boxes are going to be what's going to be colored, and we also need the lines to define where those boxes are. So the easiest way to do that is we're going to be using an array. If you don't know what an array is, you can go check out one of our other tutorials that explains what an array is. So we're going to call this array box, quite simply because they're going to be the boxes. So we also need to define how big the box is length and width wise, and we want it to be the same. We want it to be even. So we're going to do box underscore size equals 190. This means the variable box size is set to 190 units of some kind. In this case, it's pixels. Now we need to draw the lines. So to draw the lines around the screen, we're just going to need 4 lines. Those 4 lines we're going to be drawn using Pygame. So we're going to call the function pygame.draw.rectangle. So pygame.draw.rect, which is the function for rectangle. Now, there's a few things that are needed to decide where the rectangle is going to be drawn and how it's going to be drawn. First off, we have to declare where we want on the screen. So the first object is screen. Then we have to choose a color. We want the lines to be white. Now we just need the location. So our coordinates are going to be x is equal to 190. Our y is going to be at 0. And how big do we want the line? We want it 15 on the x-axis, 15 pixels, which is plenty enough. We could tell where it is. And then we want it to go all the way across the screen. So we're going to have 600. And we need to close the parentheses one more time. And now we have a function. Now, before we could have the rectangle on the screen, we need to update the display. So in the main game loop, we're going to call the function pygame.display.update. Then once we call that function, we can save it, run it, and we have our first white line. Now we need to draw another white line right here, and right there. So let's get back to the code. So we could basically copy this one line 4 more times, or 3 more times, because we want them all on the screen, we want them all to be white, but we need to change the location and the size. So we could leave, or we need to change this first number to 395. So what that will do is it will move a certain amount of distance over and then draw another line. So we could save it and run it, And now we have two vertical lines. So now let's get this horizontal lines. So what we need to do is we need to change the first number. We just need to flip these. So instead of 190 in the first slot, we're going to put 190 in the second slot. And then in the first slot, we're going to put it at 0. We're going to do the same thing with the fourth line too. And then we also need the second number in the fourth line to be 390 as well. But there's one small issue. Our size is a little messed up. It'll still go straight down because this is the starting point and it's at the top left of where you want the rectangle to be. So we just need to switch these numbers around. We're going to put 600 right there, move over and put 15 right there. We're going to do the same thing for this one as well. After we do that, we should be able to save it, run it, and now we have our lines. So now let's start making the box, because these are just lines. So we need a lot of boxes. I could do the same thing that I did for drawing the lines 9 times, but we could do it in something called a nestled for loop. So what this will use is 2 for loops inside of each other. So we're going to use nestled for loops. So we're going to type for box y. Once we do that, it will make a variable called box y. And we're going to use that as the y position for the boxes. And we want it in range from 0 to 615. But we want to go up by 205. That will make our boxes have a size of 190, but it'll jump over the lines. So close that parentheses, put a colon, and we'll move on to the next for loop. Do for box underscore x in range, and we're going to do the exact same thing. 0, 615, and 205. Close parentheses, colon. So now we're going to add the box to the array. So we're going to do box.append. This will add the command to the array box. And we're going to open parentheses. And what command is it? Well, same thing. We want a pygame.draw.rect. So pygame.draw.rect. And where do we want to draw it? We want to draw it on the screen. But instead of it being white this time, we don't want to see the box as soon as it's there, because we'll click where the boxes are, and then we will change it to our player color. So we're just going to call it black for now. And then we need to say where the boxes are. So we need to have the box X and the box Y. We already have the variables right here, box X and box Y, and they're going up in the certain amount that they need to. So we're going to do box underscore X, comma, box underscore Y, comma. And then we need the box size, which, remember, we already made this variable for. So we're going to do box underscore size, comma, box underscore size. So why do we have to do it twice? Because we have to decide the X length and the Y length. So after we do that, now we need one more close parentheses to close the box.append. So save that, run that, and then we have all of our boxes in here, but we just can't see them. So now let's make it so we have the conditions to change them, because if we can't change them to our color, we won't be able to see what's happening. So we need the conditions. To do that, we're going to do the same. We're going to have the same concept. We're going to make it in a for loop, but not a nestled for loop. So we're going to do for x. X is going to be a variable that's used just once in this for loop. After this for loop, it won't be used again. So for x in range, and we want in range of 9 because we have 9 boxes. Colon at the end. I'm going to call this variable click. But we need to make another array for it. So right here, we're going to do click equals open close brackets. And while we're at it, let's make our other two. Now for player 1, we're going to call that Boolean variable a click. And there, it's going to be an array as well. So we're going to have open close brackets. And then we're going to have the Booleans for player B called b click. And equal open close brackets. Now, back down here, we're going to do dot append, and we're going to set it equal to false. So just false. That's it. But now we need to make the other variables. So we could copy this for loop 2 more times. But instead, we're just going to change the name. Instead of clicked, it's going to be a click. Instead of click again, it's going to be b click. Now, that should make all of our variables. So from here, we should be able to save the game, right? We have all the boxes ready. So, that is going to be the end of the first video.